Hello journal lovers, it's Bunny with another journal, and I can't talk today, but we'll see how it turns out. This is one that I made for a craft show, but the craft show was canceled, so I'm listing it in my Etsy shop. It's called, what is it called? I've forgotten. It's not Grace and Beauty, because that's, yes it is. This is Grace and Beauty. The Grace and Beauty journal. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up because I've got so many things on my mind. But this is the front cover. It's made of hard chipboard and covered with a pretty fabric. And there's some lace here, and this is a vintage brooch with purple rhinestones, and it's all tied together with a raw silk sash. And let's look inside. Get my little helper under here. Okay, let's hide the tablecloth. Okay, here we go. Off to a great start. Okay, inside the front cover, you see journaling cards. All the journaling cards in this book are blank on the back, so you can write on them. And then here's some faux vintage tickets. They're not authentic. And here's a little note about this journal for people who don't know what junk journals are, how to use them. It's a little explainer, and beautiful rose images throughout. And I wanted to credit where I bought those from, but I cannot find it. So anyway, so here's some little clusters. There's lace on the edges of some of the pages. The blank pages are coffee dyed. And this is some vintage wallpaper. And in this tuck we find journal cards and a tag. All the tags are also blank on the back that you can write on them. And all the ephemera in the pockets are authentic. This is an authentic vintage receipt. Gloves and mittens from, what's the date? 1901. 1901. And we have some vintage music pages. This is coffee dyed paper with polka dot design. And this is a page from a vintage book. And in this tuck we find more journaling cards and a big old tag that you can write on. And this is a page from a vintage Betty Crocker cookbook, probably 40s, something like that. And this little tuck is a little flip up. You can jot a little note or quote in there. This is a vintage, genuine, authentic vintage photograph. And here's some more journaling cards. If this cuts off before I'm done, I will do a part 2 to finish it, unless I'm on the very last page, and in that case I won't bother. More journaling cards. This is vintage ephemera from 1893. Receipt, wagon and carriage material. And this pocket right here unfolds so that you have a full page there that you can write on, and it folds back up very easily, and it's got some real pressed flowers on it. More vintage wallpaper. In this tuck we have a vintage playing card of a laughing lion, probably from a kid's game or something, and journaling cards and a tag. It's a doily, vintage music, sheet music, more vintage Betty Crocker. In this tuck we have a peacock feather for your pleasure, and more journaling cards. This is handmade paper with pretty flower petals in it. And this envelope, we have a little mini journal, mini notebook for you to write in, complete with mini cards and ephemera. And in this pocket we have a pretty card, and this is a letter, a vintage letter from, I believe it's 1920 something, and it's from someone to her sister. So you can read that. In this tuck we have more journaling cards and another big honkin' tag. Betty Crocker, sheet music, vintage sheet music, a doily. More vintage wallpaper. There's a journaling card, and this is a vintage, authentic vintage photograph. And a tag, and another journaling card. And this is another one of those that opens up that you can write on. And in this tuck there's more journaling cards and a vintage check from 1873. Some cute little daisy edging there. Another journaling card. Another big tag. In this pocket are more journaling cards. Very pretty ladies. And this is a vintage envelope. It doesn't have a letter in it, but it's from, what is the date? Well, I don't know the date, but it's very old. Moving on. More vintage book page, fragile. Sheet music. And here's a little ruffled fabric. And in here we have more journaling cards. And here's another one of those little flip-up tucks. You can write a little thought in. And another vintage, authentic vintage photograph. Lovely lady. And a journaling card and more vintage ephemera from 1897. Rubber stamp ink. And that's all they bought. Okay. Doily, more vintage book page, vintage sheet music, Mary's a Grand Old Name, And in this pocket, more journaling cards from very happy people. And another tag. More of the handmade paper. Betty Crocker. And some pretty flowers. And in this envelope we have a journaling card and a vintage photograph. A woman and some kids. And on this side, another miniature notebook, a little bit bigger than the other one. My back hurts leaning over this camera like this. More journaling cards. More vintage ephemera, and this is all authentic vintage. And it's a note to someone. I'm not sure what the date is. It's a business note. Dear Sirs. More vintage music. A little cluster. And another journaling card. And a tag. And then we come to the back, inside back cover. Here's a vintage playing card. Vintage journal card with my little stamp in it. And more pretty ladies. And that's it. That's the journal. Grace and Beauty, Beauty and Grace. I hope you like it. I hope you'll visit my Etsy shop. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.